The Democrats' radical election takeover bills are officially dead. That's right. In this video, we're going to take a look at the death blow both bills received last night, ironically by two Democrats. We're going to see the media's hysterical reaction to the death blows. And stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal what the Democrats and the mainstream media are really panicking over. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, I am your daily fake news antidote. As each and every day, I provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Now, before we begin here, I want to meet all of you in person, and there is no better time to do that than at the next American Freedom Tour stop in Houston, Texas. I'm so excited to get out to the great Lone Star State and see all the Turley talkers out there on January 29th. I'll be speaking again with Don Trump Jr., Kayleigh McEnany, Dinesh D'Souza, and other amazing patriots. And to make it even better, after the event, I'm going to be holding an exclusive Turley Talks live Q&A. So if you're one of the first 150 people to sign up for the Houston event, you're going to be invited to hang out with me and my team on that Saturday night. So you're going to be able to ask a question at the live Q&A. You're going to get a photo with me and discuss the future of this nation with fellow like-minded patriots. So hurry up. Get your tickets right now because these spots are quite limited. They're going fast. Click on that link below right now and register to join me, Donald Trump Jr., and other amazing patriots in Houston on January 29th. Cannot wait to see you there. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Ding dong, the witch is dead. The witches, I should say. The Democrats' pair of election takeover bills, the For the People Act and the John Lewis Act, they are officially dead. They're dead. They're buried. They are gone. Chuck Schumer's attempt to ram through the so-called voting rights bills last night failed its first vote. It failed to get the 60 votes needed to end debate, and so he went nuclear, as it were. He forced a majority-only vote on abolishing the filibuster, the 60-vote threshold, and that blew up in his face as Democrat Senators Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin joined the Republicans in defeating this radical assault on our Constitution and the integrity of the Senate. And as a result, the election takeover bills went down in flames. Needless to say, the leftoids in the mainstream media and social media were quick to flip out. The ultra-leftist nut, Robert Reich, actually fantasized about Democrats slapping and assaulting Sinema in a tweet that he's now deleted because he's such a courageous man of principle. Charles Cook of National Review had a nice response to Robert Reich. Kyrsten Sinema is a sort of inspiring LGBT woman who must be slapped around by her party if she fails to follow the demands of a white man, writes R.B. Reich. Voting rights activist Ari Berman tweeted out, "I still can't get over how Manchin and Sinema prioritize the rights of the GOP minority in the Senate over the rights of minority voters." Well, a little constitutional literacy on his part would resolve that supposed discrepancy, which we'll get into in due course. But the best of them is CNN's resident constitutional illiterate Don Lemon, weighing in on the death of the Democrats' election takeover attempt. Take a look. Stop there.
You get the politicians, especially the ones in Washington now, who are blocking the people's access to the voting booth, and they want to use Dr. King conveniently. They're the biggest hypocrites on the planet. Because if Sinema and Manchin really want to honor the legacy of Dr. King and all of the people who fought for civil rights and voting rights in this country, what they would do is do a carve-out for voting rights with the filibuster. That's what they would do. But for some reason, they are mired in tradition, and they are stuck with these rules that are backwards. And as the former president said at John Lewis's memorial service, these are relics of Jim Crow. The filibuster has been used to block civil rights legislation forever. And so we need to stop that. We evolved. Just because there is a rule doesn't mean that that rule can't change. The Constitution is amended. So it's time to amend the rules and fight and protect the most sacred right that we have as Americans, and that is the right to vote.
Democrats. Stop there. Stop there. How is the Constitution amended? How is the Constitution amended? It's amended by a majority vote, which he's advocating, right, with the vote to abolish the filibuster. Is that how it's amended? Of course not. It takes 2/3 of both chambers of Congress to propose a constitutional amendment, and it takes 3/4 3/4, a supermajority of the states to ratify it. This is so bizarre. I mean, Lemon is actually arguing against himself here. He's providing his own refutation. He's actually disproving his own point, and it only goes downhill from there.
Democrats are going to force them to, it seems, vote on that rule change. And as of now, they've said, nope, we're not going to do it. Does it mean anything to you that they will have to be on the record?
Yes,
as
it
saying
does.
That?
It does. And I have the quote. I read this last night on my show, and it's a quote from Dr. King from the Birmingham jail, and it's from 1963, and it could be today. And he says, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride to freedom is not toward freedom is not the white Citizens Council or the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order, than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal that you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods or direct action, who paternalistically believes that he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises a Negro to wait for a more convenient season. That sounds like the moderates, right? Not now. We can't change the rules because the rules are tradition, but we're going to block people from the voting. And you're supposed to be a Democrat who espouses to the ideals of Dr. King. That's BS. Sorry, it's in the morning. I can say that at night. But that's BS, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You are a hypocrite.
No, Lemon, you are the hypocrite. You're the hypocrite because you claim to stand for minority rights, all the while demanding that the Senate abolish the very tool by which the minority can be fairly represented. I mean, so pathetic. Not only does he defeat his own argument, but he puts up this ridiculous straw man. Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin were not upholding the filibuster solely for tradition's sake, whatever the hell that means. They were upholding the Senate filibuster as an integral part of the standards of a fully functioning constitutional republic. The very standards, by the way, that Martin Luther King appealed to. We talked about this in yesterday's video with the late-night clown Colbert's meltdown. What's so upsetting to Lemon, and this is key, what's so upsetting to all liberals at this point, is that the Senate filibuster is acting precisely the way the Founding Fathers envisioned it. That's why they hate it. The whole purpose of the Senate filibuster was to weed out the very radicalism that media types like Don Lemon are rabidly advocating for. In our system of government, Lemon's Marxist radicalism does indeed get represented. It's called the House. The House of Representatives is the place of pure populism. However, the Senate was set up to temper populist passions with reason, which requires deliberation. And at the heart of that deliberation is the allowance of the minority, which got shot down in the House. It allows the minority to put forward their view on equal footing with the majority. When all is said and done, the majority is not always right. And it's the job of the minority to persuade the majority of what's actually flawed in their thinking. And the filibuster, the 2/3 vote needed to bring the debate to an end, provides the means by which the minority concerns can be fully addressed. So Lemon is the epitome of hypocrisy. He claims to stand up for a supposed voting rights bill that will protect the rights of minorities to vote, but at the same time, he's advocating the abolition of a Senate procedural tool that represents and protects the views of the minority. Now, that said, let's take a moment here and just reflect on really, in the end, just how brave Manchin and Sinema really were last night. As Charles Cook, again, over at National Review put it, it's not easy to buck your entire party, the entire mainstream media, and the absurdly woke entertainment industry. Again, I did that video yesterday on the late-night clown Stephen Colbert's temper tantrum the other night when he mocked and insulted Kyrsten Sinema and her defense of the filibuster. And to make it even harder, you're bucking all these forces on legislation that you would otherwise have voted for. Let's not forget that in the end, Sinema and Manchin are Democrats. They're going to widely support Democrat policies. Nevertheless, they both stuck together and voted to keep the Constitution intact and the Senate the Senate. Manchin and Sinema really believed that the changes their party wanted to inflict on the Senate would weaken the institution to which they both belong. And that deserves our praise. So 3 cheers for those two, for sure. And it's funny. People are starting to catch on here. More and more people seem to be realizing that despite their supposed success in 2020, the Democrats appear absolutely obsessed in rigging all future elections. And that speaks volumes as to what the Democrats really believed happened in November of 2020. The Democrats realize that their policies that they really truly believe in, their cultural Marxist policies, are so unpopular with the American people that they can never win another election without a significant rigging of those elections. This really is an open admission that 2020 was a total outlier, a total anomaly for all kinds of reasons, and that unless those anomalous conditions could somehow be enshrined in all future elections, the Democrats are doomed. And they are doomed. And they know it. We are now at 28 congressional Democrat retirements and counting. There's no better sign of an impending electoral disaster than seeing these rats, these demo rats, fleeing the sinking ship. And now, with the death of their election takeover bills, the looming electoral disaster may be worse than any leftist ever imagined in their worst nightmares. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on CNN's ratings imploding by 90%. It is horrific and it is wonderful. You're going to love it. So make sure to click on the link and I'll see you over there. God bless.